Welcome to the 25 Years of Vampire the Masquerade podcast, a retrospective.
Hey folks, Brennan here. Thanks for tuning in to our 25 Years of Vampire the Masquerade podcast. If you want to reach out or follow us, we're on Facebook and YouTube as 25 Years of Vampire the Masquerade, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch as 25 Years of VTM, and on our website at 25yearsofvtm.com. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/25 Years of Vampire the Masquerade. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special recording, as we're going to call this, as we're doing our first ever interview video that we're releasing for everyone to see. As we got Thomas from Flyos. Thomas, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Bob?
See, he's safe. That's the important thing. DJ, how you feeling?
I'm alive. I'm good. Hey, everyone.
All right. Today we're going to be talking about Werewolf the Retaliation, and we're going to get into that, but I wanted to monopolize the minutia off the bat, just to get this out the way. Be as short or as complicated as you like here, Thomas, but it's a question asked, and it is a lot to read about and then cleverly ignore if it would be insulting. But I do know that we've shared a lot of the challenges that come with chapters. I was wondering if you might tackle that a little bit to let everybody know, because I think it's heroic what you've been through with chapters to get it to us. I personally respect the hell out of you for the sacrifices you and Gary have made to make sure that everybody gets a product you stand by. But I don't think everybody's aware of that from reading comments. Like, I know you can put out reports that, hey, folks, this is what's going on, and you've been in constant communication. But what we're talking about here is shipping. Like, there was a demand that I think people had where they were. And maybe Amazon's to blame for this. I'm going to put this to them. Not like we're throwing shade at Amazon, but we're used to ordering something and then we get something like within a day, right? Or sometimes hours of getting it. This isn't realistic, and folks didn't understand Kickstarter, I don't think, or how the timing would work or when they would get it. But there was some unusual challenge to that too. Do you mind explaining a little bit of this?
So with the COVID and everything that happened during the logistical supply chain explosion that happens, the price of any boat ride that were usually between $3,000 to $5,000 exploded from one day to another. And because everything was locked up in China, everyone wanted to get their stuff out at the same time. And with offer and demand, things just get completely out of hand, up until the point that some boat at some point we're flirting with $40,000, meaning that, for example, for chapters, we need 17 containers. That's how much we need to just send it to backers. Imagine that in the budget that you have planned in 2020, right before everything explodes, you've budgeted 17 freight boats at $3,000, and now they're $40,000. 40,000. And you're like, what? How can you survive this? And at this point, we're launching. That's one problem, but there is so many others, because the opportunity that we had with that game was so big that we were able to just create everything at the same time, build the game that we really wanted to make. And we did, no matter the cost. We didn't move away from that vision, and it took everything from us, everything and more. We had reached our limit of the level that we can deliver up to 2 persons. So we hired more people, 7 total. We're 7 now. And it was mostly up, sometimes down. And in general, it was a wonderful adventure, but that took everything from us. We now are 7 passionate people working the same goal. And I'm talking people that were doing other stuff than we selected based on how they were fitting into the culture of Flyos and how committed they were to that project. And they did. And we have an amazing, amazing team that we try to take care of them. So when things went south here and there, we had to decide as boss company and a game that we want to create and to deliver, what do we do? At this point, we're under $800,000. What do you do? What do you do? You've just raised $3 million, and then you did a pledge manager and you raised 1.5. and the containers are still so expensive. You're around $1 million under. What do you do? And no one can tell you how to survive that. So you need to find ways, but no one can teach you how to, because the situation is so particular. You add some help here and there. And all are my ex-bosses that I work in startups, in retail, they all told me the same thing. Fire some people. That's the mass salarial, the pay check is what costs you a lot, but we don't want. And we didn't. So Gary and I, we divided our not so big salary by 2. And then we also asked for some loan. We asked for some help. And we find distributors that can take some copies. And because they did, we're not $800,000 under, but 4. And then with some cut here and there, we're at 3. And then you find ways and you understand how to do things. And you will see clearly that you're 100, 220, like $200,000, but you still miss them. And we reach to the community, and that's how I want to perceive it. We had 95% people that engage in helping us in that moment, in that extra special moment, because we could not prevent that explosion of freight boats, that we needed to have some help, and 95% of them understood that and were very positive about it. But if you just watch here and there some comments, you only see the 5% that apparently were Satan. No matter what you do, you know, like, and I don't want to talk about them, but I need to acknowledge that in any kind of community that you have, no matter how big or lovely it is, you only have 5% of people that are not going to go in the same way of the other just because. And because they have personal histories and because they're frustrated for very specific reasons. And they're legit. You need those people. You need them because they can point out things that you need to understand and to hear and to prevent, and they're right about it. And we have a wonderful community. And for the best or the worst that happened here, it's the best adventure I ever had in my life. And that's thanks to that project. And we are about to deliver that game to you guys. 720,000 words, 66 scenarios. It's more than the Lord of the Rings in terms of volume. It's in 4 languages, distributed all around the world, and there is reviews coming up saying it's one of a kind story. Now we can talk about it, but I swear to God, if I die out of stress and exhaustion, I'm going to come back from every single core box that you have in your home because now my Horcruxes. I'm a Dark Lord and I can come back from this. I get it.
Free DLC, posthumous DLC.
Well, what I could say with that story, I certainly hope that sheds a lot more light and a personal touch, that people hear it from you directly. I know you definitely wrote about it. We talked on it. But that light right there is something that I think is a piece a lot of people miss. It's easy to see a message and take a text message or a direct message or whatever and word it any type of volume, you know what I mean, how you want to hear that. It's different when you hear it from the source. And what I hear is there's a lot of love and passion, and I know the sacrifices you made. I mean, 40,000 a container where before it definitely wasn't that. That's a lot in plan assessment that throws a kink in everything, and most companies would have choked. I mean, there's more than a few companies that have said, yeah, we're going to take what we have, goodbye, we can't make it. Here's a bankruptcy.
And most did. I was at Gen Con this year, and some very big company became medium, and some medium became small, and a lot of small just disappeared. That's what happened. And everyone went bankrupt, and we were able to survive because the trust and the support we have from this community is amazing. It's amazing. We're so grateful. We are so grateful. We really feel supported. And I want to emphasize that. We gave everything, and we received enough energy when we needed it. And most of people were kind. And the people that needed to vent and tell things, we've learned from them as well. Mm-hmm. So must recommend Adventure. Would do it again.
All right. So that's enough about chapters because we've talked about that, and we're here for Retaliation, but also for Thomas, of course. That's the important point. But I've sharpened my knives. How about you, DJ?
I am good and ready.
All right. Then, DJ, please take it away. Ask your questions, sir. Let's get this going.
All right, sir. So I will definitely let you know, Thomas, that I am very, very excited. Bob knows that I've been chiming about chapters in the beginning, and hearing about Retaliation has also kind of like piqued our interest in terms of what we want to anticipate. And we here at 25 like to ask the hard-hitting questions because we like to sneak them in, right? And I'm excited. So the first question I want to ask is, you know, one of the draws that I personally had as a consumer, and especially when V5 was coming out, and knowing that chapters was being written in the fashion that it was that, you know, there was the promise of the RPG element being translated to a board game, which I thought was huge, because not many people that are in our hobby space get to enjoy what we do in a specific fashion, and it's almost like a bridge. Because everyone does love board games. I think, you know, the come up of it has been a thing, and especially chapters being 1 to 4 players, and Retaliation, I hear, also being 1 to 4 players. It's almost like you get that one thing that will also not only bring you and your table together, but perhaps other people at like game shops or your community together to bring that in. And because of that being the case, that these narrative elements that we understood from Vampire and or V5 being brought in, does Retaliation also kind of offer the same type of narrative elements or things that we should probably anticipate from the RPG coming into the board game as well?
100% yes. I can go on this, but basically what we've learned from chapters and the new processes that took us so long to improve to the point that we were satisfied enough with them to continue to grow on that technology, on that process, and on the people. We use the same formula, the same recipe for Retaliation, but where Vampire had a very deep focus on discussion, talking, understanding, investigating, and just clearly reading, because there is 720,000 words in chapters.
Read.
Lots in 4 languages for a big game so ambitious. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to give to the people that didn't have their opportunity in their life to try to play an TTRPG with good people that can understand, and you really know what we're talking about here. But the feeling of a D&D, a vampire session, where you mastered your character to the point that you've made the story leap forward, and you were able to overcome your challenges with the people around you, pretending to role play to something that is imaginary, and all have a great experience, is something magical. It's a ritual. It's a social ritual that is very important to us, that changed our life, Gary and I. And that's what we did for chapters, and we did the same for Retaliation, but more and more focus on combat. It's going to be a visceral narrative dungeon crawler. So it's going to be a lot of combat, and it doesn't mean it has to be stupid about it. It doesn't mean that we cannot weave a wonderful story behind it, that you cannot be surprised. The same narrative quality of writing the story is going to be implied there. And we're using all the help that we can. We are using consultants on the lore. We're using a lot of people, a lot of community, and we're learning what is expected and they want to have and to hear. Because we know what a vampire game is. You're going to play a neonate in chapters. And we've played, 2,000 hours, basically all my teenage years. Basically, I was doing some skateboards and I was playing with Gary at TTRPGs. That's what we were doing. That's our teenage years. So I know how to do that. Werewolf, I know it. But I don't need help. For Vampire, I know my lore. But for Werewolf, I'm not as comfortable as this. And as a business owner, as a creator, you need to acknowledge where you can need some help. And you need to ask to the people that are the most beneficial that help. And I have a lot of hats, Gary too. But if I can take this one off and give it to someone of my trust that can deliver the best lore help possible, let's do this. And more. Now we have some more people. We have 2 writers. We have one of them that is crazy about werewolves. So we now are to a point on Retaliation that we want to focus everything on combat. But we want to use the same formula as chapters to initiate people to the TTRPG the same way we did for his predecessor.
That's a lot. I have Very important question, though. It's kind of cheeky, but it is going to help a lot of people, I think, figure out where the type of werewolf they're getting, because that is something that is out there saying like, okay, Werewolf the Retaliation, but we know the shadow of Werewolf 5th edition. Is this like Apocalypse, or is it that, or is it somewhere in the middle?
It's the 5th edition. It is the 5th edition. We're using a contemporary system, which is the 5th edition, and it's still ongoing. It's still working out. We're still learning from this, but we as board game have a different approach to the TTRPG. The same way you're playing Vampire the Masquerade chapters, you don't have 30 skills. You don't. You have well less than them because we're using less than them. So we're using the base of the 5th edition, but to our own types, to our own pleasure, to accommodate the media that we're using. We have to. If you're watching what other licenses are doing, hi colleagues, are doing with video games, it's different than the TTRPG has to. So we're adapting it to the same way of adapting to the media, but we're using the 5th edition, and it's from what I saw, from the way it's going, I like that edition. And the same way it took me time to appreciate and really appreciate the 5th edition of Vampire, of the Masquerade, I think it's going to be the same way. But, our community goes in a lot of direction sometimes. So as I am, as a business owner, I know that even if we gave everything we had to make sure that Chapters was making the best product we could, we still have 5% of people that are not seeing us the way we perceive us. And we can just try to make them as, small as possible, but they're not non-existent. They will never be. So, and for that edition, it's going to be the same. It's going to, some people are going to discuss about this and going to also homebrew it. I mean, who is not? Who cares?
Well, I mean, homebrewing it and all that aside, I mean, I'll save that part of the discussion. That's not what's there. It's a board game. There's going to be different mechanics. Before we dive into the idea of the mechanics, because there's some uniqueness here, I know there's got to be. But I know the concern is always the story, right? Because you can play many different versions of Chutes and Ladders, and that's great. But Chutes and Ladders is going to get boring if it's all to the same thing. So we're looking for story. Like, do we have any idea or a preface of what this is going to be? Because it's called Werewolf the Retaliation. What's the draw? Like, where are we at? Other than just being, you like werewolves? Come see us.
So it takes the whole story of the Retaliation begins right after a very strong attack of the worm on a very specific set in the Yosemite Valley. So basically, everything is on the verge of collapse. The war is pretty much lost, and you're about to all die. And one night, in the introduction and the first scenario, so I'm not spoiling much, but everything collapses, and you have kind of a miracle which is happening that's going to save that set for one lunar cycle. So you start from the new moon to the full moon, and you have to finish that half lunar cycle. And you're going to have 4 sets of 4 different scenarios that you're going to have to go through. But every time you're going to that story to try to save that lost battle, the worm is too strong. The apocalypse happened here, or it's over, it's done, and everyone's dead, and you're that small pack of very young werewolves that are here and just try to make their best, but it's a lost cause. You've lost. You were just one time lucky, but in one lunar cycle, you're fucked. You're fucked. You're so fucked, and you know it. But you know what? It's a lost battle. We're just gonna give our best, and this is how you approach that game. You have to be reckless. You have to have everything to lose. Everything is on the line, and it's about to retaliate. We're about to die? Don't care. I'm going to do what I have to do no matter what. And this is the approach that we're going with this. And this is the story you're about to experience.
I like that. DJ, I had some stuff too, but off that energy, Thomas does that to me. But you look like you wanted to say something, sir.
Oh, no. I mean, I'll concede to you first. You have the first question. I'll piggyback off of you, sir.
Well, mine is just simply, with that said in mind, I was just going to add to the fact that we mentioned that's teamwork. That's, I wanted to ask you this. I buy the game, no one to play with. Do I need to get a pack to play Retaliation, or is it possible with just me?
Of course you don't. It's a solo game if you wanted to. This is the first idea. And when I said we use the same recipe for from chapters to Retaliation, this is one part of it. We still have snows. We're still sick. We still don't have time to play games and video games. Mm-hmm. And this is the idea, the friction, the need that we identified with Gary that gave us the whole idea of making chapters. I want to play more TTRPG, but I don't have time and people to play with too. So, yeah, you can play solo. You can play with a friend of yours that just happened at Scenario 3, and you're doing that dungeon together. And then he left, keep his character, keep his persona. And then when he comes back, you can transfer and have more experience point based on your character sheet and just keep on following the story. And you just give him the information. This is what happened. You were not there. You were hurt, and you needed to take some rest. But thanks for coming back to the pack. And then 2 more people happen. Yes, you can play up to 4 players. That's the goal.
I love it. It's very gritty because, I mean, just in the scenario you're talking about, if it's devastating, I may be the first to wake up or whatever it is, but I could stop and then add people to it. I like that you threw that in because that's more not only immersive, it makes you feel like you're getting more out of your game when you do that. And I'm for one excited. But DJ, sir, your question.
So my excitement also comes from this, and this is from the goodies that were coming in chapters that I could only anticipate probably come in Retaliation. But that's just me projecting. But the question actually is okay, so you did amazing work from what we've seen regarding how the Hunger Dice were translated into chapters itself. Do you feel, or would you be able to share with us if we'll probably be able to see something like a rage mechanic and or dice system? And even cheeky enough, right? And then on top of that, right, could we also anticipate for those of us who love dice because we're geeks that there might be also a dice that would probably be offered during this Kickstarter?
So I'm going to start with the first question, and then please try again for the second because this one is a loaded one, and I need to take more time to explain to you appropriately.
Of course.
The rage system in Retaliation. Okay, in Retaliation, the board game, what we're doing is adding the rage that you have accumulated directly when you're in Krynos. So when you are, for example, and we split it up to 5 rage, imagine that you start the combat in human, in Omid, in Lupus, or in any form that you want. The when you're entering in Krynos, and Krynos is really the monstrous war form that is not here to talk. And I'm gonna precise after that what I mean by that. Mm-hmm. You're adding to your the regular dice some red dice, and those red dice have more successes. They have more one. They have more critical success as well, and there is the warm corruption on top of that. And the warm corruption gives you 3 successes, so you're shredding completely your enemy. But you have a corruption coming up, and that corruption you keep it in up until the point that you finish your scenario. They can build it up, and when they do up to a certain point, you have a permanent corruption. So the rage is going to give you way more successes, but they can also put you in frenzy. If you have more successes from the black dice and your skills, and you have you're safe. If you have more black dice than the rage dice, you're safe. But if you have more success with your rage, you get into frenzy. And when you're in frenzy, you have to randomly pick the combat card that you have in your main hand. But you don't know what you're going to do. You're losing.
I love it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And when you are in Krynos, you cannot speak, meaning that the player cannot speak. You're not here to talk. You're here to shred. If you want to speak one word to your players, to the player you're playing with, you have to spend one willpower.
And again, I want to add before everybody goes, but in the tabletop, like you said, for this game, right? Retaliation, that's the mechanic. It has to be transcribed into our gameplay, into the media that we're using. You know, it's and the way we're approaching that is also the board game approach of doing things. Meaning that, yes, we're coming from Paradox Interactive license, Vampire the Masquerade, and Werewolf the Apocalypse, 5th edition. But we are also making the bridge with the board games enthusiast. So we have to find things that are what is the top at the moment on top of that license. We want to merge both worlds. And we also want to make the game that we want to create and to play. And I really want to emphasize that because it's hard to comprehend it to the point that it took us some time also to be aware of it and to use it to its full potential. But the community on that part, on the beta testing of the combat, of everything is going to be available on TTS. The video of gameplay is also going to explain everything. And we are asking the community how we can improve things. It's not a top-down communication thing, hey, this is my product, buy it. No, you're part of it. You're part of it. You're coming into my camp and you're telling me, you know what, that gift here for the Ragabash, it's amazing level 1. But imagine if we put it to level 4, but it's buffed. I can hear that. I want that feedback from the community. Because this is how you make a good game. Because we're doing it for all of us, for the TTRPG player, but also the board gamers. And we are starting that bridge, and people are looking at us and they think it's a good idea. So let's show them how we do it. And come to us and give us your insight and your feedback once it's open. Have a look at the Kickstarter campaign. And maybe you can support us and grow from a company that were doing small indie games to something that gets into the major league. We're about to. We might be there. Everyone is looking at us. There is press articles. That game is huge. Where we received a subvention from the Canada government because we had to create a software so specific that it was increasing the research and development of the country. And I also received some subvention about the city of Montreal because we're putting in front place the city as well, because all the scenarios of chapters is going into it is in Montreal, and we had to get the authorization of each building that was the most attractive place to play that scenario. So everyone is involved in it. It's above us. It's more than Gary and I. It's more than Flyos team. You are a part of that success, and you made that happen. And let's get for the next step. I love it. So to this, because we mentioned mechanics, the buy-ins, and uniqueness. I thought about challenges that I've experienced storytelling Werewolf. Period. Knowing that they released a sneak peek that the auspices are the same. They're lining up as what we're used to. I'm wondering the 3 hardest auspices to get across for uniqueness. It's like almost experienced players go to them. That's Philodox, Galliard, and Theurge. Are there some unique mechanics for them to be not only distinctive but to shine in this what's going on? Because typically your Ahroun, we know what Ahrouns do, right? Everyone knows that. I'm not dissuading them at all, but you know you Ahrouns and you know what you do. But to give it a starting point, I'm imagining Theurge in a board game. What's the mechanic relationship to what they can do, especially insight into Retaliation, I should say. Not that you know what they're doing in Werewolf 5th edition 100%, but
do you want some exclusivity and just have the 10 gifts that you can choose from?
I tell you what, you can do that and I won't stop you. You can do that and I won't stop you.
You're geeking out. You're like, what?
Yeah, this works. This works for me. That does help, but I just want to make sure we understand. I think folks are looking for the Theurge job and task, what that would look like in Retaliation that they could do as a player.
So I'm going to be very honest with you on this. you cannot create anything out of nothing. Everything comes from something and transforms itself.
Certainly.
And the way we approach our Theurge, the Philodox, and the Galliard were pretty much the role that you were usually using in the narrative dungeon crawler, or a crawler, or a roguelike, or an RPG, or an MMORPG. Because you understand what a support is, you understand what a DPS is, you understand what a ranged DPS is, you understand what a tank is. Then you can make a tank and you can make a berserk. Oops, that looks like an Arun. Okay? But what is the Ragabash? Well, the Ragabash is always misunderstood. It's some people are playing Ragabash the same way they're playing Malkavian, Fish Malkavian, you know? Like try to disturb everything and to be not only disturbing, but disturbed to the point that they were using that to justify shady shit. And this is not the way we approach things.
Not wrong.
Ragabash for me is the éclaireur, is the scout, but is also the assassin, is also the way the people that narratively is always looking for different ways of approaching things. He is the one that look in the darkness of things. And for me, this way of seeing the Ragabash that is uncompromisingly rebellious and checking everything, and that described the same way the auspices are being transcribed in the 5th edition. Well, for me, it's all about being sneaky. It's all about being adaptive as well, and surviving stuff. So we are going for give that goes into that direction, but keep in mind that we need to do that because it is a dungeon crawler, and you can play the Ragabash alone and finish the campaign. So you need to do damages. But the way you're going to approach damages are going to be different also for the Theurge, or for the Philodox, or for the Galliard. See, the Galliard is always the very vocal, that take all the lore, and that talks about things, and that empowered all the packs. That sounds like a paladin that is buffing things. In a way, you're buffing your allies, and you're giving them strength and confidence. Looks like also a bard, you know? So what can you believe from that? Well, you can see it that way. The way you approach the auspices is the most important choice that you're going to play for Retaliation. This is your most important choice you're going to have to decide. And see how we do that. It's 1 to 4 players, but there is 5 auspices. The goal is for you, if you're playing 4, to always have a choice, to not be like, the last one is this one, that's not my favorite. And you're going to have a crappy adventure because you are not playing the player that you want. So you can always pick the one that you prefer, basically. And you are going to make that choice, and each rank that you're going to gain, you're going to have to make a difficult choice. When you rank up, you have choice between 2 gifts, but you can only pick one. So, like, should I pick this one or this? Should I pick this one or this one? Who am I as a character? What is my play style? And at some point, let's be honest, you're going to be able to respec. Why? Because it's a game. Because if I'm playing most of the board game and the game, you can change your character. And to be honest, I'm everywhere and Gary is everywhere. And we're having a lots of hats, but we're not good enough to be in each of your home to check what you're doing. If you want to start over, you're going to do it anywhere. So just make it ritualistic, where you can commune with the spirits and change your allegiance. That's what you're going to be able to do. And we're going to put the mise en scène based on that. We want for the people that have never played Werewolf the Apocalypse and thinks you're just monstrous beast that just rampage everything. We want to show the culture and the struggle and the beauty there is in protecting the weakness and protecting that Gaia, basically. And that is hard to make if you're not immersing them enough. So each and every situation and event that we can bring that narration into it, that's our strength. That's what we did for chapters. That's what you're about to receive, and we're going to use the same formula as well. So that was a long introduction to explain you how the auspice is going to work. And before I jump into the gift, do you have any question? Sorry,
I do. You said something I didn't even think about that's relevant. Did I hear you right that if we all wanted to be 4 players wanted to be Auburn, they could?
No.
Or any combo they're in? Okay.
Only pick one auspice. So there is only one Arun in your pack. You're going to have to, but you all need to play a game that the Harun is not going to be the only one thrashing people up front. No. The Theurge is going to be able to do the same. And you're going to have to coordinate what you're doing in your pack as well. Because you can call up your spirit and ask for his guidance in the combat. And for example, if more than 2 players are, 2 players and up, are their miniatures back to back, they can call up the spirit of the turtle to bring out more defense here and there for that round. Mm-hmm. But you need to make the requirement. If you don't, the spirit is not going to be pleased. You're going to be punished. But if you make the requirement in the pack of your fight, at some point you're going to be submerged by swarms of enemies. You need to just absorb that input of damage for one round, called the pack strategy and the torso spirit, and she's going to help you. But you're going to have to unlock her before, and you're going to have to do some side quests, and you can miss that as well. So you're going to have to just check in everywhere, in all the tiles. Maybe there is different ways of approaching things. Maybe some are different, and you're going to be able to replay each scenario. You're going to have to make some choices as well between scenarios. Sometimes, and you're short on time. You're not going to have the time to have all the allies. You're going to have to pick your sides. You're going to go to a small sept that is far away, but has reliable ally that's really going to help you with some strong allies. Are you going to get to the kin around you just to get more support in terms of the camp, for example? And both is going to have their differences and their impact in the story. Because at the end of the day, you are preparing for a fight, and how much can you prepare, and what preparation choice you're going to make. It's all going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough call out here. Before we get to the meat, which is the discipline explanation, why did I say that? The gift explanation, just on the brain, right? DJ, it looked like you had something to ask as well, and I jumped in.
So I think it was funny because you actually dinged on something that I was really, really thinking about, and I thought it was, what got us excited in the first place. I remember the first time when we were speaking about chapters, one of the cool things that we did speak about was it taking place in Montreal and how important it was to the setting post, this about leaving it, or what may or may not lie in the depths of it. But I saw that there was so much excitement when you were talking about it the first time around, and we know that that's what you wanted to make your mark on, because that's what you and Gary are finally able to, as fanboys, as people that were now able to kind of influence the canon on it, right? What do you feel excited of? This is a personal question, right? What do you feel excited about in terms of Retaliation for the things that you might leave a mark on? Because we already know that you'll be touching upon Yosemite Valley, right, in the aftermath of it, but this is also a new space. This is Werewolf 5th, that we have no inkling just yet. As the consumers right now, we have no inkling of it yet, but what do you feel the most excited? Is it something mechanical? Is it something narrative? What do you feel great about regarding Retaliation that you could touch upon?
I'd like, and that's my personal response. Gary would say something different, I believe. And each and every one at Flyos is going to bring a different response to that.
Right.
So, but for me, one of the things that is really important it's to bring out that rage, that understanding, that recklessness that sometimes you're lost, but you have to keep and to push through and hoping for the best, even if you know that maybe it's for the worse. And sometimes you're going to be surprised because you can win. You can save your sept. You can save your current. You can save Yosemite at the end of it. But it's going to be really hard. And most of the endings is not going to be in that favor, maybe. So you are going to need to push through and to take some risk and some rewards. And that is the personal experience I received when launching Flyos, is to, be bold, be audacious, trust in yourself, believe in the mission, believe in the people around you. And that experience around a table as a TTRPG when you're playing Werewolf, that's something magical. And that's the ritual I want to bring to people that never had the chance to experience that.
Nice.
I love it. I'm not getting away with the gift. I don't want that to go away.
Let's jump into that. All right. I'm just going to try to find them back. They're here. I find them. Ragabash, Steerge, Philodox, Galliard, Haroon. Which one do you want to start?
Galliard, actually. That's an often. I'm real curious on that inspiration and what that would look like.
Sure. So for the first level, you're going to have to choose between Whisper of Encouragement and Chant of Protection. Whisper of Encouragement, all pack member and ally gain +2 dice effect token immediately. And that's a gift that is going to cost you 1 rage. But for 1 rage, you can give basically an extra dice to the next roll of all your allies. So you're basically holding as a wolf, and just to say, let's go, this is war, this is now. And that's going to embolden your pack members. That's the first one. And the other one is the Chant of Protection. This is the same thing, but it's going to give a resistance token. So basically, instead of saying charge, it's careful, we're being attacked. Let's protect each other. Watch out. That's the different approach of the things for the Galliard. He's always aware, he knows the stories, and he dictates vocally what's happening here.
I love that there's nerdy room there, right? Can you feel that, DJ? Where it's like, you know what I mean? Because like normally if a board game would be like, add a die, take away a die. This is actually explaining how they're kind of pointing out this would be done by your character, but you, the player, don't have to do it, right?
Exactly.
Just know that this is how they do it. So I like that a lot.
So imagine that you're playing with 2 of your friends and you're investigating here somewhere, and there's trace of corruption, or you're trying to save something, and you're here, and at some point you're being ambushed, because you will. What do you do? Do I change? Do I get into a hole? Do I get into a wolf? Are we trying to move, or are we taking out our melee weapon or range weapon? Are we following directly into Krynos? This is all the options that you could get, because you're a shapeshifter. And in your shapeshifting abilities, you're going to swap the combat deck that you're going to have. It's going to be different. When you're in Omid Fall.
Oh, wait a second. There's a combat deck and something else? Like I'm walking around with like I like poker too, Thomas. Now I'm warning you. I like having cards in my hand. So I got 2 lined up. No.
You're going to have a character board with your character that you've decided, that you've picked, because the customization of Retaliation is next level. For Vampire the Masquerade, we wanted to have everything lined up, because we want to have the story in one specific way, with specific canon character that we wanted to create. And you impersonate and start with that character, but you can make it evolve the way you want. But they have names, they have a character to start with, they have a psychology, they have a background. For Retaliation, you're going to be able to pick the character that you want, meaning that you're going to pick your auspice, your tribe, your background, but also all the miniatures of your different shape-shifting form. We have selected 3 for the board game, because 5 is way too much and give too much option. Basically, 1 is for furtivity and distance, moving around really easily. That's the wolf. Krynos is the 9 feet tall beast monster that's just going to wreck swarms of swarms. And we have the Homid. Yeah, that's the Homid is going to be able to, have guns, have different other powers as well. It's going to be able to use ranged, and that's the only one that can do that. And doesn't mean that you cannot use range and your gift. That's the beauty of this. So each round is going to be decomposed. You're going to be able to use your gift, some movements but the best way of making you feel that you're playing different states is to have some different attack based on the form that you are. Because when you're in Krynos, this is not the moment that you can use a shotgun. So are we, forbidding the shotgun to the Krynos, or we're just simply giving you 3 sets of miniature with 3 sets of a combat deck that you're going to improve based on the character that you prefer? If you are the Krynos type of guy, you're going to be able to buff that deck of combat. But if you you like to switch between forms, you're going to be able to improve both based on the skills that you're going to unlock. That depends on you. That really depends on you. But you're going to be able to take the miniatures of your wolf. You have 4 different. So if you're alone, you're going to be able to pick this one, then another one for the Omid, and the other one for the Krynos form. So you're going to be able to pick one that you prefer based on the 4 sets that's going to be available. And if you want more, we're also giving expansion of tribes. And tribes are they come by pack of 3s, and each pack has 3 additional miniatures of Krynos, of Omid, and Lupus. So if you want to play the Shadow Lord, you're also going to have other availability to cross and match the character that you prefer. So you're going to play the miniature that you like, but also the tribe that you prefer, and also the auspice and the background. And each and every one of them is going to have some implication in your gameplay, but also the developing of the story.
So that's a good point too. So it's not all 13 or all the tribes in one. It's you're doing them by story focus and then expansions later. Did I get that right?
Exactly. The idea of this is to have the base game as low price as possible.
Yes.
One of the things that the inflation is on everyone. It's on everyone, and we are aware of that. And we want to have some very high quality product, very narrative quality product, but we also want it to be accessible. It's a niche enough. Mm-hmm. But if you are the kind of, like me, of a collector that wants to have everything, you're going to pay the same price that you would pay if you paid everything. But I want the base game to be more accessible for the people, because if you don't know what a TTRPG is, if you don't know what a werewolf is other than a big monster, jumping and paying way too much for a base game like this, not going to happen. But if
please continue.
But yeah, if it's more accessible, you might just get this. And then if you want more, you can buy more. But you can start with something that is more reasonable. And you're going to be able to play the whole game, the whole gameplay, the whole main story with a reduced price. But if you want more miniatures, customization, tribe-specific characters and miniatures, let's do this. We love it. And we know that the community loves it too.
What's the 3 tribes it starts with?
So the base game, you can play all the tribes that you want. Okay. But you don't have their specific miniatures and their specific powers. You have all the gift available. You have all the tribes available when you buy the base game. You're going to have 4 Krynos, 4 Omid, and 4 Lupus. And from this, you're going to be able to play and to say, hey, this one here is a Shadow Lord, and I can pick the Shadow Lord gift and play them as is. Okay. When you're buying the expansion pack, you have a set of 3 tribes. I'm just going to say out of this, but imagine you are having in the same box, you have the Silver Fang, and you have the Bone Gnawers, and you have the Fianna. I think I'd like to be here, and if they have a conversation, it's going to be very interesting. But they're also going to have a quest together specifically. So we're also adding more scenario gameplay to just make them tribes shine at the side of one part of the story, which is an additional content. But if you want it all, it's going to be basically the same price of chapters. So if you played and buy the same price that chapters and you're comfortable with it and you're happy with the quality, go with the same level of pledge. You can also buy the base game and then improve later on. Those packs are going to be available in retail anyway.
I don't know anybody who doesn't see the logic of starting where anybody can play it and understand it, but then get specific from the passions you have to target what you're looking for. That I think is brilliant. That's something right there. It means, hey, if you want to try it for you, quote unquote, buy it. Here's the basic, but it gets cooler. And I like that a lot. There's a lot of board games you get that what you see is what you get, and that's it. There's no option to grow that out much, unless you're waiting for another big old expansion that's going to cost you a mint, and you weren't that too hot about it in the first place. But this is different. There's an expectation set, kind of like I like it a lot. That's what I'm saying.
Cool.
From that, because I'm noticing the time here, I know there's like 9 other gifts we can do, but it seems like we're finding more stuff to ask that we're off script about, and there's some very important questions people worked on. I apologize, DJ. I believe you have more, sir. Don't let me cut you through.
You know me. I'm a talkative guy. Like, if you think we're going to get this in an hour or something, you clearly misrepresented what's happening. That's
Thomas,
not my fault.
We could talk a long time, but people listening, I want to make sure we get the important points out before we get to riffing and having a good time at the end as well. But let's hit these buttons so we can at least say we were professional enough to get what we got for you.
Right. I think the last question I kind of wanted to ask on my particular end, and this actually came from, especially hearing the journey that you and Gary have had with Chapter Alone, right, and the passion you poured into it. It's like my question was essentially, we know that you've poured so much. Like you literally just spoke about this in the beginning of our podcast here about how much you went to go far and beyond to not only take care of the community in terms of making sure that we had product, but also making sure that you paid attention to all of us, regardless of whether or not the comments were constructive or otherwise. And one way or another, they are, because they help you grow another one. But due to that, do you also feel like the same amount of strength? Would you be able to tell us, like, is the main goal as well, knowing, or for me, as the consumer, because we've just looking at Chapters Alone and what we've seen, up to and including from the first Genesis that we've seen over at Gen Con when Bob and I were walking around up to now, and we have like so much faith in it. Do we see a lot of like time that we could anticipate Flyos might have their hands in a lot of the other World of Darkness products to create such great things? Could we look forward to more expansions for Chapters as well as we would for Retaliation? I'm throwing myself out there, but I guess it's the last question. I'm just digging out there, but I wondered if that passion is what's going to keep it, and this is what we might be looking forward to.
Oh, yes, and I can actually talk about it.
Please do, sir.
Go ahead, yeah.
Please do.
We already talked about this here and there. We not make the press release announcement, and I'm not going to be able to give too much details. But what I can tell you and share, we've 25 years, but also with the rest of the community that is listening. And if you do, we're the same people. I'm still listening to 25 years, and this is one of the most amazing experience I have when I smoke a cigar and having my sunglasses and walking in Montreal. This is my favorite show. I have to tell you this. It's in terms of podcast, I'm a veteran myself, and I've been for a lot of time, and you guys rock. And that's why I can give that information here loud and clear. It's yes, we have already signed Chapters 2. And what we did for the Camarilla, we're going for the Anarchs.
Yes.
Nice.
And it's happening in the United States. So yes, it is happening. Yes, it's happening. It's going on. I'm not going to say the names of the city and everything because we want to because going just for this is not enough. And then you're going to have more, and everyone's going to have more. What I can tell you is from everything that we've learned in the process of Chapters, we're also going to take the time to listen to what won very good, extremely good, bad, improvable on Chapters, so we can make sure to improve Chapters 2 from this, but also Chapters 1 with another edition. But we also have, for example, we'd love to have some extension for Chapters 1 because we know how it ends. I know. Do you want to be spoiled? No, you don't.
No, I don't. It's coming. We'll know.
And basically, there is so many endings in Chapters that you would know what happened after if we go in one direction and another. So imagine, and that's what I'd like to see. But imagine that you're playing Vampire the Masquerade Chapters. All right, you finish the game, you resolved everything collapses, and everything is done. You've played it all. You still have like maybe 10 or 15 scenarios that you have not played because you've made some decision here and there. You can play them, but it's not going to be the same. But the replayability of this is amazing as well. Create some other characters, transfer your XP, play it again, play the same scenarios in the different ways that you want. If you want to know more about this, check the new YouTube video from Quackalope. About when they're playing scenario number 2. Right. They went all in very fast, but they went one way. They could have fought, they could have sneaked, they could have tried to wave their way into seducing things. They've not explored and uncovered all the experience points that they could have just grabbed, that were here for the taking, but they didn't because they didn't go through and they didn't try to check it out. But they played for an hour and they were very, very happy about this. The review we're hearing and that they are coming right now, they're positive or very positive. And as long as it's not in your hands, we're not going to know. But so far, green light. And that's, I'm sleeping now. Yeah.
Good. Good.
I'm glad to hear it.
But yeah, it is something important to keep in mind. Retaliation is something that we want to be important, but chapters is as well. Imagine that we have a good game that everyone is liking or super liking, and we have some good retaliation funding, and we're able to work on this. The way you're finishing chapters 1 is going to have an implication at some point in a cross scenario happening in Retaliation.
Nice.
So we are crossing all the universes. We are also depending, and that's what I'd love to do, is what ending did you pick? What ending would you prefer? And what do you hope that Montreal becomes? And if we're able enough to gather all that information and that we make a survey, maybe that could influence what we're doing with an expansion post chapters 1, 1.1, 2 expansion of the story continuing after what the community decided. That's what we want to do.
So what I'm going to say is that that's very, very ambitious and a promising a future. Just an announcement. I apologize for my sinister laugh outbreak. It's just me being tickled at the prospect of a crossover game, especially. I mean, come on, you have in Retaliation some very pissed off wolves who survived a very crippling scenario running into vampires. I mean, murder, kill. I mean, that's just me feeling that, but I'm certain it's going to be done in a more creative way with a lot more room.
It's going to be a murder fest. The house will be red. It's
exciting. It's exciting to see that outcome and what it could be. What I got to say is that the World of Darkness has been taken in a different direction in two things. In chapters and Retaliation, I'll hold it there. I like the vision Flyos has. You and Gary have managed to capture at least my imagination in delivering a true World of Darkness that I synergize with. Where
yes, we cannot sold the pail of the beer before. I don't know how to translate that in English. Sorry, it's a French one.
So, chapters, looking at the video I watched, I believe was the hour one, of seeing what it concludes, everything it has, and the playthrough I've looked at, and everything else. That's everything but me doing the deed. And I'm typically one of those people who I don't care to watch those videos. I'll be honest. I'm like, whatever. I'll get it when I get it. But this I had to. Not just because the interview purposes to know clear and get a better insight of what Retaliation will look like, but to say, what direction are they going? Is this too many pieces? Is this too much stuff? Or is it just the right mix? It's just the right mix. It's all the little gadgets and doodads that you want to have in a board game to have that feel and for it to be fun to play through it. I can see me finally sitting down with the fam on a holiday and them going, you want to play a board game? And me going, yes, I do. Normally, I don't want to play your boring board games, but now I have one. You want to know what I do? This, me and my friends, boom, down. Let's play chapters. I like werewolves, boom, done. Retaliation, that's out. Let's have at it. Let's have a taste of it. And that bridging that gap's more important to me than just people who do board games. To tabletop players or LARPers to board game, it's even better to go, I can now share this with the family. And you don't have to be an expert at all or read any book to enjoy what we got going on. That's the true bridge that's being gapped here. But to my excitement, it's something that you said, just listen to you talk about Retaliation. You're screwed. It's done. But don't have any hope that you're winning here. Have a hope, though, that you're leaving your mark, that what you can do is done. But that's the story. But then brilliantly later on, you said, right, that, well, there's a way to win. Incredibly hard. You're going to earn it. That's the important thing. And tons of ways to end it. That means playability in and of itself. Mm-hmm. And that to me is the exciting part. And what bridges that too, because normally that stuff bores me out. Like, because everybody has that friend. Did you see that new movie? Did you see how it ended? They did this, and you just stare at them. Well, now I'm gonna have to wait until I forget that movie's out, to forget we had this conversation. But I appreciate your excitement. Thank you. Now it's like, well, that's just one scenario ending, Bob. There's like another 30. You gonna come by? We gonna do it? Yeah, you got me. So,
I think there's 6 different or 7 different ending to chapters, and they all make sense. It all gonna depend on how you build that character. I mean, if you play the Bruja and you're an anarch and you're here for a mission and you get just bulked up in a coterie up until the point that you have 40 scenario, a whole year of investigation, and you're running after the Sabbat. I mean, the way you're going to finish, that's not going to be the same if you are the Ventru or if you are going to be the La Sombra. It's complete. You have different needs. You have different game, political one. And the more you play the character that you're associated with based on the clan, based on the character and the discipline that you unlock, you are going to know how your character developed. The way you're using presence, level 2 or level 3 to a specific sides of dialogues, you are going to be a real vampire that has no heart sometime. That's okay. That's what you decided. Doesn't mean that you're not going to pay the cost, but all those actions have consequences. And at some point at the end of chapters, based on everything that you did in the campaign, you're going to have to make a choice. And from this choice, it's going to be your personal conviction. And all the things that you've succeeded, saved, or destroyed. And what's your humanity? What's your Masquerade reach level? All that's going to matter. All that's going to matter.
That's probably the sexiest thing I've heard this week, and that's truth. I rather enjoy that. The fact that your decisions matter, your consequences are there, but it's all to a good content of story. As it said, chef's kiss, right? That's to me is perfect.
Gary and I, we've been working for the last 3 years, day in, day out, no break and no day off whatsoever, just when we were brokenly tired, exhausted. I'm not going to even indulge in the complaint of how hard it was. I'm just going to say it. It was very hard. It was the hardest thing I did in my life. And I did a lot of things in my life. I came from France. I've switched industries in very various ways, and I was not bad at it. And to the point that I was confident enough to start a company with my best friend, and we did, and we raised millions based on that. But it's easy to say that when you're saying this in 5 years, but you're only seeing the tipping point and the 1% of that achievement, but the cost is behind. The cost is hidden, and it's big, and it's huge, and it takes a toll. And we did it for us first, because that's the game we wanted to create. And we're also very glad that it happens that to be the same wishes, maybe, than the community, because we're part of it. That's the main strength and weakness of what happened to chapters. We went all in. We went all in every single aspect of it. And now we've pushed the button of the print. The English is done. The 9,000 copies are done. They're finished. We are prepackaging it, and I'm good in logistic and transport, but I also have other things to deal with. So we just hired a consultant in logistics that has been helping us since our previous project, and is going to help me make sure that every game is really, really well packed, that we are saving a lot of money as much as we can to find the best deal for the shipping, because things have changed and we've reserved some stuff, but the price are going down, and I need some help to try to make the save motive, because we've already committed to a lot of things, because we've gathered the money of the community, and then we pushed it to make sure that we could ship everything. But the price are going down, and we're able to negotiate. And it happens to be that we are still making a loan, because it is hard out there. We just received a subvention from Montreal, and we're going to use it 100%. It's big, and we've went all in on this, and we are taking the responsibility of this. But whether it's a success, whether it's a huge success, whether it's an okay game or completely broken, that would be surprising. But there is never 1% chance. Like, we've been working with 7 people, watching in every way. If Gary and I were the only two working this, that percentage could have increased, but that's not the case. And it's been play tested in Gen Con here and there for 3 different years with other game designers. But you never know how much is going to be a good game up until it's delivered. Whatever it is, I can die in peace. I gave everything on this. I cannot give more.
My friend, if I know they're just words to you, but I sincerely know that it is a success. As I said, looking at not only just the effort, honestly the heroic effort, and the shock of actually being able to do all that, hits to establish, there is no way that first off, maybe this is shortchanging me. I've played some shitty games. We've all been there when you buy something that looks hot and looks great, but you didn't quite get all the insight, and you didn't listen to all the videos, and you kind of ignored some reviews, then you get it and you're like, man, right, it's shit. And that's what it is. That's not what I've experienced with Flyos. Flyos has been open in communication of what you're getting, clear in the understanding of the passion of what they're trying to do. They've been not only up front, they've been holding your hand and taking you to it to see what's going on. And for a company to disclose honestly and say flat, here, we got taken over the coals and taken for a ride. When it came to shipping, we're screwed, but we're trying to take that hit, not for you. And any assistance you give, may it be that you're asking for more to be included in your packages for what you have, we're not looking for you to just throw money at us. And that is a level of integrity that might as well be fictional. I've not heard of many companies doing that. And that's, in fact, I could tell you none have I heard doing that. It's more...
Oh, there is a lot. There is a lot. You don't see behind doors. But you'd be surprised how many colleagues of the industry have done the same than we do.
But they don't tell you, right? That's what I'm saying. The level. Thomas, stop. I get genuflecting. You don't want to be painted as red. This is my damn show. I'm painting you that way. I'll take the hit. I don't give a damn. Paradox, Weradox, 3 Shades, Docs Company, anybody there, take a chill pill. They could take a chill out here. What I'm saying is, a lot of effort, a lot of heart. You will always get me with integrity and passion. Always. Integrity and passion, I'm by you. But to get integrity and passion, you have to risk yourself. You have to risk yourself. And that risk is not just monetary. To stick out there and say, I'm Thomas, I'm the guy who did this. I'm passionate about it. We're in a bind. We're asking for your help. Are you kidding me? Like, that's legit. I met this guy. We've been, you know what I mean? That to me is like all hands on. And that's much, much love and respect. So let that stick. I know it's hard. You're a humble guy. I did it for you. Don't worry. And we just put that over here. But that's why I'm saying it's a success. You can't sleep at night because you know Chapters is great. I also know that Retaliation is no less going to be delivered with the level of interest and passion that you're generating for it already. And it's going to be there too. In fact, we're already, me and Mo have already sat down and been like, I like Werewolf. You know, everybody likes those couple Christmas gifts. We're sitting there sharpening up the whole list here, what we're going to do.
Of course. No, this is what we're trying to. Thank you, because I don't want to complain, because it would not give the real satisfaction that it was to walk and to wake every day being happy to create that game. some days and some weeks and some months were tough, yes, but I would do it again. It was hard, challenging, fulfilling, humbling, really. We had so much money and so much ambition on that we have created the game that we wanted to play. No compromise, none whatsoever. Woo! That was hard to go out. That was hard. That we asked for, I don't know, 350,000 total. In total, chapters is $4 million because we raised 1.3 on Kickstarter, but after that we raised 1.5 on the Pledge Manager. Usually on the Pledge Manager side of things, as a creator, you can see from most of the games and campaign, you can leverage 50 to 70% of this. We raised more than the previous.
Yes. It's a lot of heart. I mean, it's when you do good work, right? That's what this is about. And when you stay the course, and then you stand by your result, and that's what you're doing. And both you and Gary, I want to include this. Not much Gary do you see, at least on my end. I occasionally have few email chats here and there, but mostly it's hi, how you doing? But the effect, what I'm trying to get at is Gary is the counterpart, and even for just two people to carry that monument, I was stressed watching. And how many times did I say, DJ, we'll have a meeting, and like, oh man, did you catch what's going on with chapters? Like, yeah, I don't know what's going on, like the cost and whatever. What are we going to see? Are they going to be around? Like, what's the deal? And we're like, damn you, COVID, like just leave them alone.
Oh, COVID was an adventure, but it was also a blessing because we needed to adjust, and that adjustment helped us because we're very new. We're able to just adapt very fast. That's what we do, Gary and I. We've known each other for like 22 years. We were teenagers together. We are in the other side of the Atlantic together now. And we're 50-50 at Flyos. We cannot move forward without both of us agreeing on something. That's dangerous, especially for friends. And money and careers and family as well, And it's weird that you don't know as much Gary as you know me, because I'm handling that kind of media in general. But Gary enjoys other things. For example, all the monthly videos he's doing, all the workers all around the world. Gary has as many, if not more hats than I do. And he has 2 kids. And he's talented. He's the best associate and partner anyone can dream of. He's my brother, he's his family. And that's what helped us go through what we did. Without that, without an absolute, complete trust in your partner, with that much money and how much ambition and weight on your shoulders, would be difficult. And when I could not walk, he was there to keep on. And when I needed a break or he was sick, I was taking it over. That's what you do. That's what you do with a partner in your life, but that's also what you do in a partner in your company. And I cannot emphasize how much Gary is important and is 50-50 as much as I do. He's my best friend. And that guy never loses. That guy never loses. Never loses. He always wins. I mean, and I don't die. How can you match out that duo? That's impossible. So we've played to our strength, and we did. And we hope the result is up to the task that was in our plate, because it's a lot of fun coming up your way. We hope.
Well, now we're to the point to where the hook is being cast to wrap it up here. But before we do, when can we look to check out Werewolf the Retaliation or sign up and do all that? When are we looking for that?
So the Kickstarter campaign is going to start November 15th. So you are going to receive a day one bonus if you back that project on Kickstarter the day of the launch, and it's going to be November 15th. Also, if you're a backer of chapters, you need to back us on Kickstarter to be able to get that cross expansion. This is our way of thanking the people that are backing Retaliation before chapters gets delivered. We understand that, and we would prefer also that chapters get delivered before it's being produced, it's being reviewed, green light everywhere. But we understand that that level of risk is not for everyone. And if that's the case, no problem. Get into the pledge manager in a few months, in a year, or something like this. We don't know yet, but it's pretty much what's happening. But if you if you believe in our passion, in how we're committed, and you trust all the people that we've worked with and all the reviews, and that you trust us enough just to watch the Kickstarter, and that you and keep in mind that Kickstarter is supposed to help young and ambitious studio that want to kickstart a project. It's not a pre-order. It's not a pre-order. It's not Amazon. We're going to need your help to build that up. And we are going to need your feedback and your implication. And you are going to have an input on this. This is your occasion to actually increase the level of fun you could get into that game, to really participate in this. And you're going to pay less as well. And you're going to help us start now on Retaliation, because chapters is done. We cannot not work on this anymore. It's being printed. Our job is done. But what can we do? Just wait a few months that you get it, and we are bleeding money for the next 5 to 6 months, or 3, or December, or no, we can't. We are a company. And when we asked the community to back us up, they did. And we gave everything. And I can tell you that we gave everything in that. And everything that you're going to be able to watch and read on the Kickstarter campaign from November 15th to December 2, I believe, or 16 or 17 days, we are going to respond to every comment like we did on chapters. We are going to put regular updates. And in the campaign, you're going to see if what we're proposing you like it. If you do, back us. That really means something to us. So day one reward, which is going to be a big miniature of the last boss that just killed all your current that you're going to fight with at the end of it. So it's a big defiler worm entity. You're also going to have, if you're a backer, a chapter's backer, you're going to have a special scenario. But you're also going to receive a lot of stretch goal that we're going to raise with the rest of the community. And the game is going to be also less expensive. So if you know that you would like to get that game, back it on Kickstarter. It means a lot, and we need all the support that we can get. But if you don't feel comfortable enough to do that, wait for the pledge manager. We all have our situation economically, our risk level acceptance. But I can promise you that if we have our funding, we are going to give the same strength and passion that we did for chapters. That I can promise.
Thanks.
Well, I back you, my friend, and I trust, of course. That's how that goes. That's pretty much all of us unanimous at 25 here. That's what we believe in. That's why we love having Thomas on here, or Gary, or whenever. That's very much here. I'm very hard-nosed when it comes about trust of company. There's a lot out there that don't. So if you can't hear it, Bob seems distrustful of things. Yes. I very much prefer things to be proven, and I think a lot you've more than proven dealing with chapters, especially the rollout and of this interview and revealing to everybody else. But with that, do you have any last parting things you would like to say, either DJ or Thomas, before we wrap this up?
I do have a word of thanks to Paradox Interactive. We really want to emphasize that, because we will not be here without that opportunity. Yes, we worked really hard to make it grow, but they trust us when we came with that idea. And in our young years of companies, nothing is ever set in stone, and all relationship in business change. And some people that were your allies here are now people that you don't talk to, and people that you discover. Sometimes you discover a Bob in a Gen Con, and it becomes something. It is friendship. I mean, we're talking intimate life, and things can move up or move down. And I really want to emphasize this, how strong the relationship with Paradox is from Flyos, and from Paradox to Flyos as well. They believed in us, they support us, and they're doing their best. It's not always easy as a company to keep that in mind, because it's another company, you know? But all the people that we've worked with, every time we needed a hand, they did. And this is important to keep in mind. We're very grateful of the opportunity that we have, and we hope that we're going to be able to transform that opportunity to you very soon in your home. So thank you. The community, Paradox, Flyos, all the people involved believe in us. It made a lot. We received a lot of emails, and you would not believe how much we share what we receive in our info at flyosgames.com email address. All the love, all the feedback, all the interrogation, we respond, Gary and I ourselves, directly to it. It's not another people. All the comments, it is I and Gary that watch it and comment to it. Only Gary and I can do it. So when you're speaking to Flyers, you're speaking to Gary and I. And 95% happy about it. So I think we're doing a great job, and you're doing one too. So thank you for that as well. It really means a lot.
It's our pleasure, and honestly, let's stop there. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you for those final words, Thomas. We appreciate it.
Love.
See you, folks.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to our 25 Years of Vampire the Masquerade podcast. If you like what you heard and want to support us, please share it with others or leave a review. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.